Right, Gold Derby fans. Well, he is a Tony-winning Broadway star. He pops up in your favorite series like Mindhunter, and he's lead of a country band. He can do no wrong. I'm thrilled. I'm Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby, and thrilled to sit here with the multi-talented Michael Cerveris. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
You've popped up in a lot of great series like Gotham and Madam Secretary, but Mindhunter is a really beloved one right now. How did you first become involved with it?
Well, I think I owe a lot of it to Steven Soderbergh. I had done a project with him for HBO called Mosaic, and he and David Fincher are really close friends and sort of share projects sort of before anybody else gets to see them sometime. And so Fincher saw me in a rough cut of Mosaic and knew that they had this character coming up that they wanted to introduce, Ted Gunn, the new unit chief. And so he asked Soderbergh, who's this guy? I haven't seen him before. And that led to a series of auditions and ultimately getting to spend a year in Pittsburgh.
That's awesome. I was very curious because Mindhunter is sort of based in reality, and a lot of the characters are inspired by real life figures. But Gunn doesn't seem to be based on anyone in particular. So I was wondering, where do you look for inspiration? Where do you grab from when you're creating this character?
Well, I love to do a lot of detailed background work for characters, and I've played a lot of historical figures like John Wilkes Booth and Juan Perón and things like that. So I really enjoy kind of going out and doing a lot of research, spending time online, digging into the deep troves of information on people. For somebody like Gunn, because he's more of an amalgam of several different people and different kinds of people, I just spent time with John Douglas's original book that the series was kind of inspired by. And then we also had an FBI agent on staff and sort of there to kind of give us detailed information about just how things would actually be done and would have been done at that particular time too. Mm-hmm. So I made big use of him as well.
And speaking of David Fincher, what kind of what is it like working with him? Does he give you specific guidance for the role?
He does, but it's sometimes in a kind of oblique way. It's not always he doesn't tend to tell you exactly what to do. The rumors about, 20, 30, 40, 50 takes are not exaggerated. I loved it though. For me, it's kind of like rehearsal, and it gets you to this point that I think is maybe part of what he's looking for, where you can no longer sort of edit yourself or critique yourself or monitor your performance. You've just done it so many times, you kind of stop being sure what to do, and you just start to behave and react and respond and perform like a human being, like a regular person. And I think that's a lot of what he's looking for, and along with the details that he wants to get exactly right. But he also has a way of kind of between takes. He's usually very close to the set. He's not miles away at the camera village, so that he can step right in as soon as the take is over and just start talking to you. And sometimes he'll talk to you in a way that's almost like speaking your character's subtext for you. And sometimes that will include him saying some of your lines, but it doesn't, to me anyway, feel like I'm being given a line reading. It's just sort of he's talking out loud and thinking out loud, and I think maybe trying to perform a little bit of a mind meld with you, so that you start sort of thinking of the scene and the character in the same way that he is. And then he just sort of, steps away and the cameras start rolling again and you do another take. And then that process will repeat again and again and again. And I find a really fantastic way to work, and really inspiring and helpful and productive. And it gets great work out of people.
what I really love about when we first meet Gunn is its first opportunity to meet everyone on the show. He's essentially interviewing all the main characters, and it's really hard for the audience to get a read on him. You sort of don't know where he's going. Was that mysterious element very important to you when creating the character?
Absolutely, and it was important to Fincher as well. He loves specificity and ambiguity, like the combination of those two things. And I think Gunn is a perfect example of that. I mean, it seems very clear that something is going on, that he definitely, has an agenda and has things that up his sleeve, but it's unclear what those things are. And so we worked really hard to make him very specific and very intentional, but also very murky exactly what those intentions are. And some of the things get revealed as the season goes on, and some things are left kind of mysterious still by the end of the season. And we'll see if and as the series continues, what else we may learn about Gunn and what his agenda is. I thought one of the coolest things, one of the best directions that Fincher gave me early on for those first 3 interview scenes when I'm interviewing Holden and Tench and Wendy, he said, I want you to find ways to kind of mirror each of them in those first scenes. And it's a business technique, and it's a psychological technique to sort of, when you mirror physically and empathetically the person that you're interviewing or talking to, as I'm sure you're doing right now, it puts the person at ease and makes them kind of feel like, oh, this, I like this person. I can open up to this person. I can talk to this person. So if you'll notice when I'm talking to Tench, I'm sort of more kind of squinty and looking at him the way he looks at the people he's talking to. When I'm talking to Wendy Carr, it's a more kind of peaceful and intellectual and slightly softer kind of approach. And when I'm talking to Holden, it's all, he said, I want you to try to get below him and look up to him like you're, so that there's a sense of you kind of admiring him and flattering his ego and flattering his, sense of his own importance. And it was a fun thing as an actor to have that kind of specific task to do, and I think it helps the scenes have a really great kind of odd specificity.
Yeah, it's almost like each one is like a little game, so it's very fun to watch. It seems that we're all looking forward to season 3, but it seems like that might be on hold until David finishes his next film. But with all these things you're talking about, are there certain elements that you have on your wish list to explore another season?
Oh, in another season? Well, I would like to see, as happens sort of between seasons 1 and 2, season 2, you get a lot more of the kind of home life and personal life and the ways that the work that they're doing is affecting Tench and Holden and Wendy. And I would love to see a similar kind of thing with Gunn, see the guy who, when he's not at the office, because so much of the time we see him spending time in the office and doing his work. It would be interesting to get to know a little bit more of his backstory and a little more of what he's like when he's, not being, in the office.
Well, we'll have to hope that season gets made soon. And I wanted to shift gears because we have, you have a lot of different irons in the fire, and you're also a very accomplished singer. I know you, especially from the Broadway scene. You are a 2-time Tony winner, but you also have this sort of country folk band called Loose Cattle with Kimberly Kay. So, and I imagine many Broadway fans may not know you dabble in that too. So what was the story of how this band came to be?
Well, I mean, I've had bands since the time I was in junior high school. My first band was called Ukiah, named after a Doobie Brothers deep cut, and we were not very good, but we were very loud, and that that counted for a lot in junior high. And so over the years, I would form bands. I formed a band when I was doing Tommy with Alice Ripley, who was also in the show, and we would play. We had a residency at Club Chenet, which was at the same time that Jeff Buckley was playing there, and it was kind of a coffee house sort of scene. And then I did a tour playing guitar as Bob Mould's guitar player from Husker Du and Sugar, and we toured the U.S. and U.K. in '98 doing that, and that was like a dream come true for me because I was such a fan of his to begin with, and I got to live out my adolescent dreams of just making masses of guitar noise and playing to crowds who were moshing and having like a road crew and other people to set up your amps, which was a real dream. So that was great. And then I had a band in New York and had several different bands. And I started to when I came down to New Orleans, actually, for the first time for work, to work on Cirque du Freak, I kind of got back in touch with my southern roots. I grew up in Huntington, West Virginia, and even though New Orleans is an entirely different kind of South than West Virginia, it just simply being back below the Mason-Dixon line kind of rekindled a lot of that, and a lot of the music that I'd grown up around but not really spent as much time with started to really kind of speak to me again, country music and Appalachian music and stuff. And so I started playing more of that, and with Kimberly that we would start this band. We were dating at the time, and we thought somehow that putting a band together would be, a good way to not fight and to not get into arguments. Apparently, we never paid any attention to any, Fleetwood Mac biographies or anything. But somehow the relationship ended, but the band survived, and we got some of our friends in New York and formed this band, Loose Cattle, and really intended just to kind of play in friends' living rooms and just have it be a casual, fun thing. And got all these opportunities early on suddenly to appear on Mountain Stage, this public radio music program out of West Virginia, and got to open for Arlo Guthrie, and we got to play at Lincoln Center and play down at Jazz Fest down here, and suddenly we thought, oh well, maybe we should actually
Sorry, Michael, are you still there? You were breaking up just a little bit.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Do you hear me now, or? Oh, you're a little frozen too.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You seem.
Sorry, you were just breaking up slightly, so I want to make sure you're there.
Oh, okay. Should I go back?
Go back now.
Okay.
I missed probably the last 10 seconds of what you said.
Okay. Where was I? So we started this band, Loose Cattle, really just to be fun and to play in friends' living rooms and have it be a kind of casual thing. And we got all these great opportunities right out of the gate to be on Mountain Stage radio program and to play at Lincoln Center and to play with the guy Paul Sanchez down here at Jazz Fest. And so we thought, well, maybe we should kind of take it a little more seriously and really do this. And so we did, and we started putting a band together with friends of ours in New York and then and New Orleans and making albums. We did a live album from a residency we had at Studio 50 at 54 Below in New York, and we then did a Christmas record, I guess last year or so, and we had been every year we'd been doing like a Christmas single that we would just we would learn a song and record it and mix it and master it and put it up on the internet on Christmas Eve, and that was our Loose Cattle Christmas card to the planet. And after a while we had 5 or 6 of those, and we thought, well, if we did some more, we could just put out a whole Christmas record. So we did, and we recorded it in New York and New Orleans, and got some horn players from New Orleans to play on it, and friends from both cities. And it's called Seasonal Affective Disorder, which gives you a little bit of an idea of our particular take on the season. I'm a huge Christmas fan, and I love Christmas albums. I wore the Partridge Family Christmas album out when I was a kid. I love all these artists and, all kinds of different bands, like the band Low, this sort of like slowcore band from Minneapolis that has a Christmas record. So I love Christmas music. Kimberly, like, is the Grinch, like, just does not make Christmas, associates it with all kinds of traumatic childhood experiences and throughout her life. So where those two, ideas of Christmas meet is kind of this record, and it's kind of the Christmas record for people who think they don't like Christmas records. And it has a few original songs that we wrote, and one that we wrote with the Lost Bayou Ramblers, this Grammy Award-winning Cajun band from down here, and then a bunch of covers, a few traditional songs that people would know, but a lot of kind of unexpected treasures, we think. But
yeah, it does range in terms of kind of the emotional quality of the songs, because some sound like these kind of humorous, joyous, like you were sitting right there on your porch having a jam session, and others are very introspective. How do you kind of settle, especially when you do a cover, when you like pick a cover, how do you settle on a tone for that, or arrangement? Because they're very, very distinct and different from the original versions.
Oh, thanks. That's a lot of what I think is the most fun. I mean, first, the search for what to cover, can take a long time, and I'll go digging around on the internet and just entering, odd Christmas, weird Christmas, country Christmas, Christmas disaster, all kinds of things to just see what you get. And one link will lead to another, and then you'll find some song that you've never heard of before. Or sometimes you'll cross this song and it'll just sort of strike you. Oh, I've heard the song a million times before, but it, for whatever reason, today I'm hearing it in a different way. It might be really interesting just to sort of follow that, that different tone, and apply it to this otherwise, peppy song. And then I think it most often is a process of first kind of distilling it down to what you feel like the essence of the song is, melodically and tone-wise, and lyrically, and then just kind of build up from there. So it'll start with a really simple kind of demo that I'll just do at home, and then I'll bring it into the band, and everybody will sort of add their particular take on it, and it'll in the best version, it becomes something that none of us expected in the beginning. Like, for example, the Tom Waits song, the Christmas Card from a Hooker in Minneapolis, and also the other one, the Joni Mitchell song, which was Kim's idea. She really wanted to do The River. We had this guy, Tom McDermott, who's a fantastic, cherished New Orleans piano player, come, and he and Kim did the initial take of both those songs in the studio. And then, we thought, but we are this kind of Americana band. We want there to be variety in the album, but we don't want it to be schizophrenic. So, we want to have some common thread. So we'll bring our fiddle player in and the banjo player, and they both really brilliantly kind of found ways to have one foot still in the folk and country and Americana world, but also to be able to kind of merge that with with Tom Waits or with Joni Mitchell, and more jazz kind of influence thing, or a folky kind of thing, and what comes out of it is a little hard to classify, which I really love, and which is kind of the ideal thing to me.
Yeah, and I know you have an upcoming concert at Joe's Pub on December 4th. Are we going for the Christmas season? We're going to hear that album, or is it going to be a mix of everything?
It'll be a mix. It'll be a lot of our Loose Cattle originals and our our fan favorite kind of things. We do have one of our earliest songs was a mashup of Dolly Parton's Jolene and CeeLo's Fuck You. And I know it sounds like those two songs don't necessarily go together, but I think we make a good case for them being two sides of the same coin. And so it'll be that, and then also some Christmas songs. And then we have another show on December 7th at Hill Country Barbecue in Manhattan. That'll be our all Christmas show, and we have a horn section, and we do the entire Christmas record, and some extras, and have some guest performers, and this will be the third year in a row we've done that show.
Awesome. Well, I also wanted to, before I let you go here, I have to wrap up, but I was reminded of your Broadway debut recently because they announced they're doing the Who's Tommy revival in 2021. And I'm wondering what is kind of next for you? Is Broadway something you're looking towards, or do you have other projects? Because you have so many different places you dip your toes into.
Yeah, I have, my toes like a lot of variety. I don't have a lot scheduled for the new year right now. Loose Cattle is working on a new record, so we're kind of in the writing and demoing phase of that. I have this David Simon series, Plot Against America, on HBO will be coming out early next year, and I have a role in that. That's going to be a really exciting 6-part miniseries based on Philip Roth's novel of the same name. And beyond that, I don't know. I kind of like to sort of away, and whatever's most interesting and unlike things I've done before is usually the thing that I am most interested in. I'd love to get back on the stage again. I've really been enjoying the work in television that I've gotten to do and film. So it just kind of it'll depend on who asks me to do the most interesting thing or the most terrifying thing, because that's often what I will. If I think I might be really bad at this, that's the one I'll try to do, probably.
Well, we'll look forward to what comes next, and best of luck with your concert coming up for Loose Cattle. It was really wonderful to speak with you today. Everyone watching at home, make sure you subscribe to Gold Derby, and thank you, Michael, so much.
Thanks, Sam.